Everyone in the courtroom froze when the judge leaned forward, his voice sharp and confused. "Why is this Marine still in jail?" The silence that followed carried the weight of disbelief. People exchanged glances, whispers stirred, and the Marine himself, sitting in chains, slowly lifted his eyes toward the bench. He had endured months of waiting, nights spent in a cold cell, and endless hearings where his voice was barely heard. Now, for the first time, someone with real authority had noticed the injustice. The judge's words weren't just casual. They carried a demand, a fire that suggested something deeply wrong had taken place. For this Marine, once hailed as a hero for his bravery overseas, the moment felt like the first crack in a wall that had trapped him. And yet, no one in that room was prepared for what would follow, because within minutes, events would spiral into something no one could have ever predicted. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the judge's question lingered in the air. Lawyers shuffled papers nervously, the prosecutor avoided eye contact, and the defense attorney leaned forward, sensing a rare chance. The Marine's story was not simple, decorated for valor. He had risked his life countless times, but a misunderstanding, twisted by bureaucracy, had left him behind bars. When the judge repeated the question, louder this time, everyone could feel the pressure rising. The Marine clenched his fists, remembering the battlefield where he had protected brothers in arms without hesitation, yet here he was treated like a criminal. His family, sitting behind him, fought tears. It wasn't just a question anymore, it was a challenge to the system. And just when it seemed like no one dared answer, an officer stepped forward with a file in hand, revealing details that would change the entire courtroom's mood in an instant. The officer's voice trembled as he read the forgotten report. It told a story of bravery, of sacrifice, and of decisions made under impossible pressure. Suddenly, the Marine's actions didn't sound like crimes, they sounded like the painful duties of a soldier following orders. The audience leaned closer, captivated, as the report revealed inconsistencies in the case. Evidence that had been ignored. Testimonies that had been buried. The judge's eyes narrowed, realizing this wasn't just an oversight, it was a failure of justice. The Marine's head hung low, but inside, hope began to flicker. For months, he had prayed that the truth would surface, and now, piece by piece, it was finally breaking through. But with each word spoken, the courtroom realized that this was not simply about one man. It was about uncovering something much larger, something that might shake the very system meant to protect the innocent. As the truth unfolded, the courtroom felt more like a battlefield of words and revelations. The defense lawyer seized the moment, pointing out the hidden evidence and the contradictions in the prosecution's case. With every fact exposed, the Marine's image shifted, from prisoner to patriot, from accused to victim of injustice. The crowd inside gasped, some even shedding tears as the weight of the story pressed down on them. The judge leaned back, his expression torn between anger and disbelief, as if he himself couldn't comprehend how such a mistake had gone unchecked for so long. The Marine's family gripped each other's hands tighter, their hope rising with every passing second. But what no one expected was the sudden voice from the back of the courtroom, someone who claimed to know the full truth. And when they stepped forward, the entire room held its breath, waiting for the revelation. The man who stepped forward was a retired officer, his uniform long gone but his honor still intact. His voice cut through the tension like a blade. He admitted he had been there when the orders were given, when the Marine had been told to act under impossible circumstances. He had remained silent out of fear, but watching a hero rot behind bars had finally broken him. His testimony hit like thunder, shaking the foundation of the case. Tears welled in the Marine's eyes as he heard someone finally speak the truth aloud. The crowd erupted, unable to hold back their emotions. The prosecutor's face went pale, realizing the case was crumbling. The judge struck his gavel, demanding order, but even he couldn't hide the flicker of relief in his eyes. For the first time, it seemed like freedom wasn't just a dream. It was within reach. The retired officer's testimony opened the floodgates. More witnesses came forward, soldiers who had once stayed quiet now spoke with courage. Each voice added strength to the Marine's defense, painting a picture of a man who had given everything for his country only to be abandoned by the system. The courtroom was no longer just a place of judgment, it became a stage where truth finally fought back against silence. The Marine sat straighter, his chains still heavy but his spirit lifting. His mother wept quietly, whispering prayers under her breath. The judge listened carefully, his expression firm, knowing the weight of his next decision. For the Marine, time seemed to slow. Every second felt like a lifetime as he waited for the final words that could change everything. And when the judge finally spoke, the entire courtroom leaned forward, ready for history to be made. The judge's voice echoed through the chamber, steady and commanding. This Marine should never have been jailed. Effective immediately, he is free. The words struck like lightning, breaking the chains not just on the Marine's wrists but on his very soul. The crowd erupted in applause, some even shouting in joy, as the Marine stood for the first time in years as a free man. His family rushed forward, embracing him with tears streaming down their faces. The retired officer saluted him with trembling hands, honoring the man he knew was always innocent. The Marine's eyes scanned the room, taking in the faces of strangers who now saw him not as a criminal, but as a hero. The unbelievable had happened, justice had triumphed. And as he walked out of the courtroom into the sunlight, the world finally saw him for who he truly was, a soldier who never gave up, and a man who never stopped fighting for the truth.